The roar of motorcycles fades into silence. Leather cuts hang empty in a clubhouse that once pulsed with life, laughter, and the raw, unfiltered energy of outlaw brotherhood. In the world of Sons of Anarchy, death was never just a plot point. It was a shadow that loomed over every character, every decision, every twisted turn of fate. But what happens when that shadow stretches beyond the screen? When the actors who brought Charming's most complex characters to life face their own final rides. Today, we honor the fallen members of the SOA family and the legacies they left behind. Sons of Anarchy wasn't just another crime drama. For 7 seasons, Kurt Sutter's gritty Shakespearean tale of motorcycle club loyalty, corruption, and redemption captivated millions, turning its cast into household names and creating one of television's most passionate fan communities. The show's raw intensity came from performances that blurred the line between fiction and reality, actors who understood the weight of portraying outlaw culture with both unflinching honesty and surprising heart. When we lose members of this creative family, the pain cuts deeper than typical celebrity passings. These were the faces who brought us into the world of SAMCRO, who made us feel part of something dangerous yet strangely relatable. Their characters taught us about loyalty, consequence, and the price of freedom. Now we remember the actors themselves, some central to the series, others whose briefer appearances still left indelible marks, and the all-too-real tragedies that took them from us too soon. Number 15. Hal Holbrook. The Gravitas. Hal Holbrook brought to Gemma Teller's father elevated every scene he appeared in. As Nate Maddock, Holbrook portrayed a man battling dementia with heartbreaking authenticity, adding layers of complexity to the show's exploration of family bonds. Before joining Sons of Anarchy, Holbrook was already a legend of stage and screen, winning 5 Emmy Awards and becoming synonymous with his one-man show as Mark Twain, a role he performed for over 60 years. His distinguished career included an Oscar nomination for Into the Wild and memorable roles in films like All the President's Men. On January 23, 2021, Holbrook passed away at his home in Beverly Hills at the age of 95. Though his death came after a long and celebrated life, the Sons of Anarchy community mourned the loss of an actor whose presence had brought multi-generational weight to the series. Kurt Sutter paid tribute, calling Holbrook a master craftsman who elevated every scene he touched. His scenes with Katie Sagal remain some of the most emotionally resonant in the series, showcasing how, even in a world of chaos, the parent-child bond endures. In a show where most characters died violently, Holbrook's Nate represented a different kind of tragedy, the slow fading of a once fierce mind. Number 14. William Lucking. As the grizzled founding member of SAMCRO, William Lucking's Piney Winston embodied the original heart and soul of the club before corruption set in. With his oxygen tank and unwavering moral compass, Lucking created a character who served as the show's weathered conscience, the last link to the idealistic origins of the Sons. Before bringing Piney to life, Lucking enjoyed a prolific career spanning over 50 years, appearing in everything from The A-Team to Star Trek, and numerous westerns that prepared him perfectly for the frontier justice mentality of Samcro. Lucking passed away on October 18, 2021 at his home in Las Vegas at age 80. His wife Sigrid confirmed his death in an obituary that described him as a giant of a man with the soul of a poet. The news hit the Sons of Anarchy cast particularly hard, as Lucking had been a mentor figure to many of the younger actors. Kim Coates, who played Tig Traeger, wrote, "Never ever gonna forget this guy." William Lucking was the real deal. Piney Winston was the real deal. You'll be missed, brother. In life as in fiction, Lucking represented an older generation of outlaws, men who lived by a code that, while outside the law, still valued honor above all else. Number 13. Johnny Lewis. Johnny Lewis brought a youthful eagerness and tragic vulnerability to Prospect Half Sack that made fans instantly connect with his journey toward becoming a full-patch member. As the club's prospect working to earn his place, Lewis delivered a performance that balanced humor, determination, and a haunting sense that this world might be too dark for someone still finding himself. Before Sons of Anarchy, Lewis had built a promising career with roles in The O.C. and Criminal Minds, with many industry insiders considering him a rising star with significant potential. On September 26, 2012, Lewis died at age 28 in a shocking incident that still disturbs fans. He allegedly killed his 81-year-old landlady before falling to his death from the roof of her home in Los Angeles. Reports indicated Lewis had been suffering from psychiatric issues and had been released from jail just days earlier. The circumstances surrounding his death sent shockwaves through Hollywood and the Sons of Anarchy community. Kurt Sutter later revealed he had written Lewis off the show at the end of Season 2 due to concerns about the actor's mental stability. Lewis's tragic end seemed to blur the line between the show's fictional violence and real-world tragedy, a reminder that sometimes the most painful stories happen after the cameras stop rolling. Number 12. Alan O'Neill. Irish actor Alan O'Neill brought authentic grit and complexity to his role as Hugh, a member of the true IRA with connections to Sam Crow's gun-running operations. O'Neill's natural Dublin accent and rugged authenticity lent credibility to the show's international storylines, helping to expand the series beyond charming into a global criminal network. Before joining the Sons of Anarchy cast, O'Neill was well known in his native Ireland for his role in the popular drama Fair City, where he played Keith McGrath for several years, establishing himself as a versatile character actor with a talent for portraying men living on society's edges. On June 6, 2018, O'Neill was found dead in his Los Angeles apartment at the age of 47. His girlfriend discovered his body in the hallway of their home. O'Neill reportedly had a history of heart problems and had been a heavy smoker, though the Los Angeles County coroner later determined he died from sequelae of chronic ethanol overconsumption. News of his passing prompted an outpouring of tributes from both his Irish colleagues and the Sons of Anarchy cast. Charlie Hunnam described him as a lovely man with a kind heart. In both his native Ireland and his adopted American home, O'Neill represented the working actor who brings authenticity to every role, much like the journeyman outlaws whose loyalty forms the backbone of MC culture. Number 11. Paul John Vasquez. Though his role as Angel Gans was brief, Paul John Vasquez made a memorable impression as one of the many characters whose paths fatefully crossed with Sam Crow. Vasquez brought authenticity to the small but significant role, contributing to the rich tapestry of supporting characters that made Charming feel like a living, breathing community. A character actor with deep roots in television, Vasquez had appeared in shows like CSI New York, How I Met Your Mother, and ER before his turn on Sons of Anarchy, often playing tough, street-smart characters that showcased his natural intensity. On September 24, 2018, Vasquez was found dead at his father's home in San Jose, California, at the age of 48. According to reports, he suffered an apparent heart attack. The news came as a shock to fans and fellow actors alike, as Vasquez had remained active in the industry right up until his passing. Though not a main cast member, his death added to the growing sense among fans that the Sons of Anarchy family seemed marked by unusual tragedy. Former castmates remembered him as a dedicated professional with a surprising gentleness off-camera. Even the briefest connections to the world of SAMCRO seemed to carry both significance and, at times, a strange weight, both on screen and beyond it. Number 10. Kenneth Choi. As the calculating leader of the Lin Triad, Kenneth Choi created one of the show's most memorable antagonists, a man whose businesslike approach to organized crime made him both a dangerous enemy and occasional ally to SAMCRO. Choi's nuanced performance avoided Asian gangster stereotypes, instead portraying Henry Lin as a sophisticated strategist whose conflicts with the Sons stemmed from practical business concerns rather than mindless villainy. Before and after his recurring role on Sons of Anarchy, Choi's built an impressive career with prominent roles in The Wolf of Wall Street, Captain America, The First Avenger, and later as a regular on 911 and The People vs. O.J. Simpson. While Kenneth Choi is very much alive and enjoying a thriving career, his character Henry Lynn met one of the show's most brutal ends, tortured and killed by Jax Teller, who wrongly believed Lynn was responsible for his wife's murder. The misplaced vengeance that drove Lynn's death became a pivotal element in the show's exploration of how violence begets more violence. When the truth was finally revealed, Lynn's unnecessary death stood as one of the most tragic consequences of misinformation and rushed judgment. In a world where territorial lines and cultural differences often led to bloodshed, Lynn represented how even the most pragmatic players could become casualties of personal vendettas they never saw coming. Number 9. Dmitry Dyachenko. Though his appearance was brief, Dmitry Dyachenko made a chilling impression as the head of the Russian mob in Season 1, helping establish the international criminal world that would become increasingly important to the series. With his imposing physical presence and authentic Russian background, Dyachenko brought menacing credibility to his character, creating a memorable adversary during the show's formative episodes. Beyond Sons of Anarchy, Dyachenko built a steady career playing Russians and Eastern Europeans in films and television, including Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and Chernobyl Diaries, while also working as a classical guitarist and voice actor for video games. On April 21, 2020, Dyachenko was found dead in his Daytona Beach, Florida home at the age of 52. The medical examiner determined he died of an accidental electrocution while working on a minor electrical issue at his home, combined with heart disease and prescription drug factors. Friends became concerned when they hadn't heard from him for several days and contacted authorities. The news of his passing came during the early months of the COVID-19 pandemic, which meant that public tributes and memorials were limited, though colleagues remembered him as a talented musician and dedicated actor who brought authenticity to every role. Like many character actors who briefly crossed paths with SAMCRO, Dyachenko's contribution to building the show's dangerous world outlived his time on screen. Number 8. David LaBrava. David LaBrava brought unmatched authenticity to his role as Happy, the taciturn assassin whose smiling face tattoos marked his completed hits. Unlike most actors on the show, LaBrava was actually a real-life Hell's Angel who was initially hired as a technical advisor before Kurt Sutter recognized his screen potential and cast him as Happy. His genuine understanding of MC culture lent credibility to his performance and the show as a whole. Beyond acting, LaBrava is an accomplished writer who penned episode 10 of Season 4 and published his autobiography, Becoming a Son, in 2015, revealing his own complex journey through outlaw culture. While LaBrava himself is still alive and active, he suffered an unimaginable personal tragedy on May 5, 2018, when his 16-year-old son Tycho took his own life. LaBrava shared the devastating news on social media, revealing that his son had been secretly battling depression. In his grief, LaBrava established the Tycho Spellis Chiusano Foundation to raise awareness about mental health issues and suicide prevention among young people. His Sons of Anarchy castmates rallied around him, demonstrating that the brotherhood portrayed on screen extended into real life during the most difficult times. For a man who portrayed a character seemingly untouched by emotion, LaBrava's real-life tragedy revealed the depth of feeling behind the stoic exterior, a reminder that even the toughest among us carry hidden vulnerabilities. Number 7. Emilio Rivera. As the formidable president of the Mayans MC, Emilio Rivera created in Marcus Alvarez a rival gang leader, whose complexity transcended simple antagonist tropes. Rivera's nuanced portrayal showed a man guided by principles of honor and protection of his people, even when it put him at odds with SAMCRO. His performance was so compelling that when the Sons of Anarchy spin-off Mayans MC was developed, Rivera's Alvarez became the crucial link between the two series. Beyond the Sons universe, Rivera has built a successful career playing similar hard-edged characters in films like The Cable Guy, Traffic, and Street Kings. While Rivera is alive and thriving professionally, he has been open about his difficult past and personal tragedies. Before finding success as an actor, Rivera struggled with addiction and gang involvement in Los Angeles. In interviews, he has discussed losing friends and family members to violence and incarceration. These real-life experiences informed his portrayal of Alvarez and fueled his commitment to mentoring young people away from the destructive paths he once walked. In 2020, Rivera also faced health challenges when he contracted COVID-19, though he fortunately recovered. Like the character he portrayed, Rivera represents resilience and reinvention, a man who transformed his life's hardships into the foundation for creating authentic, resonant stories. Number 6. Edward Gwynne. Edward Gwynne made a brief but memorable appearance as Stephen Sharkansky, a crooked businessman whose dealings with Samcro illuminated the club's expanding criminal enterprise. Though his screen time was limited, Gwynne's performance contributed to the show's exploration of how the Sun's outlaw activities intersected with seemingly legitimate business interests. A character actor with decades of experience in television and film, Gwynne specialized in playing unsavory authority figures and criminals, bringing lived-in authenticity to roles that might otherwise have been forgettable. On August 13, 2015, Gwynne passed away at age 63 in his home state of Oregon. While details of his death were not widely reported, former colleagues remembered him as a dedicated professional who brought unexpected depth to even the smallest roles. His passing received little media attention, reflecting the often overlooked contributions of character actors whose faces might be recognized by viewers even when their names remain unknown. A handful of Sons of Anarchy cast members acknowledged his passing on social media, though without the public outpouring that accompanied the deaths of more prominent cast members. In both his life and death, Gwynne represented the journeyman actors whose brief appearances help create the textured world that makes shows like Sons of Anarchy feel authentic and lived in. Number 5. Kurt Sutter. Series creator Kurt Sutter pulled double duty by casting himself as the increasingly unhinged, imprisoned SAMCRO member Otto Delaney, creating one of the show's most disturbing and tragic character arcs. As Otto, Sutter portrayed the ultimate cautionary tale, a once loyal son whose years of incarceration and exploitation by both the club and the authorities drove him to extreme acts of self-destruction and violence. Beyond his role as actor and showrunner on Sons of Anarchy, Sutter established himself as one of television's most distinctive voices with work on The Shield, and later creating Mayans MC and The Bastard Executioner. While Sutter is very much alive, his character Otto suffered perhaps the show's most graphically brutal journey, losing an eye, biting off his own tongue, and eventually being killed in prison. The physical and psychological torture Otto endured became a powerful metaphor for the cost of club loyalty. Behind the scenes, Sutter faced his own professional challenges when he was fired from Mayans MC in 2019 following complaints about his behavior and creative differences with FX, a case where the creator of this world of outlaws found himself pushed out of the kingdom he had built. Otto's willingness to mutilate himself for the club represents the darkest extreme of the loyalty the Sons demanded, and the psychological toll of that devotion that extended beyond the screen into the real creative process. Number 4. Taylor Sheridan. As the principal deputy chief David Hale, Taylor Sheridan portrayed one of Charming's few lawmen willing to stand against both SAMCRO and corrupt officials within his own department. Sheridan brought quiet integrity to Hale, creating a character whose moral compass remained true even as he recognized the complexities of justice in a town where traditional law enforcement often failed. After his character was killed off in Sons of Anarchy's third season, Sheridan transitioned to writing and directing, creating the hit series Yellowstone, Mayor of Kingstown, and writing the critically acclaimed films Sicario, Hell or High Water, and Wind River. While Sheridan is alive and has become one of Hollywood's most successful writer-directors, his character Deputy Hale met a tragic end when he was struck and killed by a van during a drive-by shooting at Halfsack's wake. Hale's death marked a turning point in the series, the loss of one of the few genuinely honorable figures in Charming. In an interesting parallel to his character's principled stance, Sheridan has spoken about leaving acting after experiencing frustration with the limitations and economics of the profession, choosing instead to create his own opportunities by writing and directing stories about the American frontier and justice. Hale's death represented the show's cynical view that integrity alone cannot protect you in a corrupt world. Yet Sheridan's subsequent career renaissance suggests that principled creative stands can sometimes lead to greater success than compromise. Number 3. Robin Weigert. Robin Weigert brought intellectual sharpness and moral complexity to her recurring role as attorney Allie Lowen, one of the few professionals willing to represent SAMCRO members while maintaining her own ethical boundaries. As the club's lawyer, Weigert's character navigated the precarious position between legal advocacy and enabling criminal activity, often serving as the show's voice of legal and ethical reason. Before and after her Sons of Anarchy run, Weigert established herself as one of television's most versatile character actresses, earning an Emmy nomination for her role as Calamity Jane in Deadwood, and delivering acclaimed performances in Big Little Lies and Jessica Jones. Weigert is alive and enjoying a thriving career, but her character represented a rare voice of reason within the Sun's orbit, someone who understood their world without being corrupted by it. Her departure from the storyline came when the club's activities became too extreme, even for her flexible ethics. After the series concluded, Weigert spoke in interviews about the challenge of playing someone trying to maintain professional integrity in an environment where moral boundaries were constantly shifting, drawing parallels to the ethical compromises many face in their own careers. In a narrative dominated by characters who embraced outlaw justice, Lowen represented the fragile hope that legal institutions could provide legitimate protection, a hope repeatedly tested and often broken in the world of Charming. Number 2. Donal Logue. Donal Logue brought terrifying unpredictability to retired U.S. Marshal Lee Torek, creating one of the show's most memorable antagonists, a grieving brother whose quest for vengeance against SAMCRO became increasingly unhinged. Logue's nuanced performance showed how Torek's legitimate grief over his sister's murder twisted into something monstrous, blurring the line between justice and revenge. A veteran character actor with a lengthy resume including Gotham, Vikings, and Blade, Logue brought gravitas and psychological complexity to what could have been a one-dimensional villain. While Logue continues his successful acting career, his character met a violent end when Otto Delaney stabbed him in the neck with a shiv during a prison confrontation. More significantly, Logue faced a real-life family tragedy in June 2017 when his 16-year-old daughter Jade went missing for 2 weeks, prompting a nationwide search. She was eventually found safe, but the incident revealed how the Sons of Anarchy family rallied around one of their own during a crisis, with numerous cast members using their platforms to spread awareness about Jade's disappearance. Torek's descent into obsessive vengeance represented the show's recurring theme that even those who begin with legitimate grievances can become corrupted by their pursuit of retribution, a cycle that claimed countless lives throughout the series. Number 1. Charlie Hunnam. As the soul of Sons of Anarchy, Charlie Hunnam's portrayal of Jax Teller stands as one of television's most compelling tragic heroes, a man torn between loyalty to his father's legacy and the corruption that legacy helped create. Hunnam's performance balanced Jax's charismatic leadership with his inner moral struggles, creating a character whose descent from potential savior to willing destroyer anchored the entire series. Before becoming the face of SAMCRO, Hunnam had gained notice in the British series Queer as Folk and films like Nicholas Nickleby, but it was his 7 seasons as Jax that established him as a major talent and led to leading roles in films including Pacific Rim, The Lost City of Z, and The Gentleman. While Hunnam is very much alive and enjoying a successful film career, his character Jax made the ultimate sacrifice in the series finale, deliberately crashing his motorcycle into an oncoming truck. the same way his father had died years earlier. The show's final image of a crow feeding on bread near Jax's blood became one of television's most discussed endings, with fans debating whether Jax found redemption or merely continued the cycle of violence. In interviews after the series concluded, Hunnam revealed the emotional toll of playing Jax, describing how he struggled to separate himself from the character's darkness and kept Jax's rings as a memento of their shared journey. In both the fictional world of Charming and the real world of television history, Jax Teller's story stands as a Shakespearean tragedy of modern America. A man whose attempts to escape his violent legacy ultimately led him to embrace it fully before making his final ride. The world of Sons of Anarchy gave us more than just riveting television. It created a family of performers who brought unprecedented authenticity to a subculture rarely portrayed with such complexity and empathy. The tragedies that have touched this creative family in the years since the show's conclusion serve as stark reminders that the themes explored on screen, mortality, legacy, and the high cost of living outside society's boundaries, often find echoes in real life. From Hal Holbrook's dignified portrayal of aging with grace to Johnny Lewis's shocking demise that blurred the line between fiction and reality, these losses remind us of both the fragility of life and the permanence of artistic contribution. What remains most powerful about the Sons of Anarchy legacy is how the show connected with audiences who recognize their own struggles in these outlaws' stories. The series never glorified violence, but instead examined its consequences, both for those who inflict it and those left behind. In each character's journey, viewers found reflections of universal human experiences: the search for belonging, the weight of family expectations, and the question of whether we can ever truly outrun our past. The performances of those we've lost continue to resonate because they touched these fundamental truths. Which of these stories affected you most deeply? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe to join our community as we continue to honor the legacies of beloved performers who've taken their final rides, but whose work continues to move us, challenge us, and remind us of our shared humanity, even in the most outlaw corners of the American dream.